Welcome OU. And Jamie, thank you so much for helping to coordinate our Ask Me Anything event this evening. I'm Crystal Freitagger. I'm the Senior Manager of Academic and Industry Relations with Aspen Dental Management. I represent the 800 plus Aspen Dental branded private practices nationwide. Nationwide for us right now, we're represented in 43 states, with our most recent state opening in New Jersey this year. And then our 44th state, Colorado, we open next year in the first and second quarter of 2021. For those of you guys who don't know a lot about Aspen Dental Management, let me just give you just a snippet of background on us. So we started in 1998 in upstate New York as a way to provide business support and consulting to our dentists. We offer every type of support that our dentists may need, and we're 100% aligned with their success. The difference is that our dentists own the practice under the Aspen Dental brand, and we provide that non-clinical business support to the dentists when they need it and however they need it. Tonight, we're fortunate enough to have two of our practice owners out of Oklahoma on our AMA to help answer those questions that are important to you. And we have up at the top of the screen, we have Dr. Arth Patel. And at the bottom of the screen, we have Dr. Alex Williams. So welcome to both you guys. Thank you so much for coming on. Before I have you guys share a little bit of information about yourself, I want to cover just a couple of housekeeping items for those that are on. And first of all, I'm going to utilize the list of questions that everyone submitted via the Google registration form. I got some that were emailed over to me. So we have those put together so I can present those to the practice owners tonight. But you can also ask questions live. So if you want to use that Q&A function at the bottom of your Zoom screen and pose questions live, then you can certainly do that throughout the evening. If you have questions after tonight, you do have my contact from, again, the Google registration form. So reach out and certainly we'll respond back. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. I know the hour is going to go quick, so let's learn a little bit of background from both the doctors. Dr. Patel, let me start with you. Can you share a little bit of information about yourself?
So hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Patel. I graduated last year from UCLA in California, and I started working with Aspen right away. I started back up in Tulsa. So last year, I did a lot of mentorship with other doctors who were very experienced, obviously, with the clinical part, and I learned a lot with them. And over time, about 6 months later, I moved up into the lead dentist position in Aspen, and I've always wanted to come back to Oklahoma City. So, and that's basically how that went about. And just recently, this month, I've in partnership with Dr. Williams, we started owning the practices here in Oklahoma City. So welcome everyone, and just looking forward to it.
A lot of things for you going on this past year. Welcome, yep. Dr. Patel. Awesome. And Dr. Williams, can you share a little bit about yourself as well?
Yeah. So I know a lot of the OU students have already heard my story probably a few times if they've ever made it out to any of our rooftop events. But my story started towards private practice. My dad, brother, and uncle are all dentists, and I grew up in dentistry, and I knew the moment I got into dental school where I was heading and where I was going to be practicing. So I knew that I wasn't going to be ending up in a dental service organization or any corporation setting. I was going back home to Skiatook, Oklahoma, small town business. My dad and brother were already practicing there. So I was pretty much the anti-DSO guy in my dental school class. I know we all have them, right? So I was that one. But I went back and started practicing with my dad and brother, and I really loved it. It was fun. It's great working with family. Really enjoyed that atmosphere. Got a lot of opportunity to learn and grow. But it really just wasn't getting me to the level we needed to be financially. Me and my wife had just had our first daughter. We were, swamped in student loan debts, trying to buy a first house. Couldn't afford it. Couldn't even get a loan for $100,000 without a co-signer from my dad, being a dentist. So that was really cool. So then I decided that I needed to pick up some part-time work. My uncle was currently working at Aspen, and he had gotten sick. And I went in to help him out a couple of days a week after talking to my brother and dad. And they said, yeah, if you need to do that while we're ramping up the business, that's great. Went in and sure enough, I just fell in love with the model. I fit really, really well.
Think we might have, I think we're losing
It's
him.
really, really cool. Sorry.
Excellent.
Am I there?
We got you. Yes, we
Apologize
do.
for being on the drive.
Absolutely.
Cool. So I basically came on as a part-time dentist. My uncle got so sick that he couldn't really practice, had to step away. I had an opportunity to take over as the lead position there in Tulsa. So I told my dad and brother that I think this is what's going to happen with me. I think this is what I want to do. And they thought I was crazy. And that's okay. But I left the practice, went to Aspen, did exceptionally well. Bought my first practice and started partnering these locations over the last 5 years. Since then, my brother actually sold the practice back to my dad, and now he's a partner as well in Oklahoma, along with Dr. Patel and a few others. I think of these people all as family. It's a great big family here in Oklahoma. We have great practices, and just really excited to be here tonight.
What a story. That's awesome. We're going to learn a lot from you, Doc. I appreciate that. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. A good portion of our questions tonight, as I told you, Doc, before, are really not surprising, heavily weighed over on the clinical side. So we're going to jump in first to clinical, and then we'll definitely cover the questions that they have on compensation, ownership, and a lot of the other areas. But let's jump into clinical. The first question that I have is, and Dr. Patel, I'm going to start with you on this one.
Sure.
Okay. When you were a new grad dentist, what was the most intimidating dental procedure for you to do, and how did you approach that?
I would say the most intimidating would be doing a molar root canal, because I didn't really get that much experience back in dental school. I remember having just done one of them over like 6 different appointments back in school. And here they were cranking out molar root canals within an hour or 2. So obviously that was something that, that was challenging for me. But I think what's really important about that is having that mentor to kind of not even show you, as well as like for you to be able to see. Because if the mentor is doing the procedure right there, you're able to see what they do and then kind of just imitate that and learn from that. And as well as like, I was comfortable with doing the procedures because I felt like if I got stuck somewhere that I would have a good, somebody to like bail me out. And that's huge.
Mm-hmm. So you were in the practice with your lead dentist then, right, Doc?
Right. So I was with my lead dentist for about 3-4 months until I got really comfortable, especially doing the more complicated stuff. So like surgical extractions, molar root canals, things that sometimes can be challenging to do, efficiently. So that's very important.
Excellent. Thanks, Doc. Hey, Dr. Williams, how about you? Same question.
It probably was molar root canal therapy, to be honest. I was with my dad and brother, so I also had that same level of mentorship. This is something I guide a lot of these students who ask that question all the time, about how do we develop and grow doctors? And it really comes down to mentorship. It's so important to have someone there when you're early on in your career, not only to just be able to see it, like Dr. Patel was explaining, but to know that someone's there in your wing, man, like that's huge. Knowing that when you are screwed, that you got, your dad back there waiting to bail you out. And it's just really nice, whether it be a guy your age or one of the lead dentists here. It's fantastic to be teamed up with other doctors that you can learn and grow from. But molar root canal therapy was a challenge. I think because, like Dr. Patel said, it wasn't something I got a lot of experience with. Obviously, in OU, we did have quite a few more than a lot of universities. Even when I was in school, we were still doing over 15 to 20, canals per student, which is pretty significant. Back when my brother graduated, they were still doing 30 to 40, which is incredible. But it still doesn't prepare you for what's to come. Those are usually cherry-picked cases, and so you're not really seeing the really difficult molar endo that you're going to see on a regular basis. So I ended up having a couple perfs my first year, no lies. Definitely lost some good teeth that year. Maybe some file separations, just learning some of the things by the school of hard knocks as well, but it's good.
Excellent. You both talk so much about mentorship that I feel like we should kind of carry on that theme though really quick and talk a little bit, because there's a lot of questions on mentorship and what did that look like for you? What can they expect coming out of dental school, post-grad, and starting with Aspen Dental? So Dr. Patel, you want to start off with that and walk us through what they can expect from a mentorship standpoint?
Mhm. So I just want to start by saying mentorship is probably the most important thing starting out of dental school, especially if you're somebody who's coming in without any post-grad training or residency, and you just want to go in there and start working and getting really good clinically. You want to have a good mentor that you can learn from. And so that's one of the things that was really important for me when I was looking for a job personally. Because I wanted to eventually get to a point where I was independent and able to run my own office and not have to worry about the clinical part, so that I can move my career forward. And that was, I was really lucky to be formed with really good mentors that really taught me exactly, how things are approached, how you talk to patients, how you set expectations, and how you do the treatment. And those things are very important for building your career, building the framework for you to be a good dentist. Yeah.
Absolutely. And Dr. Williams, I know you've mentored plenty students at this point. Can you talk to us a little bit more about mentorship and maybe your side of it and how you look at it?
Yeah, so obviously I've been training a lot of dentists for Aspen Nation, not just here in Oklahoma, or not just for my locations or my practices that I'm partnered in, but also for other clinics throughout the states. And one of the things that's really, really important is, like Dr. Patel had mentioned, being able to see someone actively doing something and walking you through those steps and the right verbiage to use is key. But then, letting someone and releasing them to try it themselves. And what I've found it's probably the most impactful is to let them try, right? Sometimes you have to fail so that you can come back and watch it again, see it from a new set of eyes, and then you tackle it a different way. And it's incredible to watch that exchange happen over the course of, say, 2 to 3 months with a new doctor. It's incredible how much they can grow in such a short period of time. So he had mentioned the GPRs and stuff. Yeah, it's fantastic. But at the end of the day, if you've got somebody who's willing to invest in you and guide you through that and through all of those different types of, dentistry out there, we can grow you in ways that you probably won't even get in a GPR, because the things that you're inside of a bubble in a GPR still. So you're guarded a little bit. But in these private practice settings, we're discussing verbiage. We're discussing expectations with the patients, which, to be very, very frank with you guys, patients don't care if you're a great dentist or not. They just don't. They build up their confidence in you in the first 10 to 15 minutes that they meet you. And that has to do with the words that you use and your chairside manner. It really has less to do with how many root canals you've completed to success or how many teeth you've pulled. And to know that you've got somebody here that will be able to guide you through that and teach you the proper way to have chairside manner, those verbal skills are absolutely key to success. And so being around those people, I think, is really important. But that's the thing I rely on the most when I mentor.
Excellent. Thanks, Doc. Great explanation for that. Dr. Patel, let me ask you this, because we have the question on whether to do a GPR or an AGD or not to. And you said you came right out and came to Aspen Dental. So can you help walk us through what made you make that decision to come right out and start practicing, as opposed to, did you think about a GPR or an AGD?
So yeah, I did actually think about a GPR AEGD, and I decided against it. And I'll just echo back to what Dr. Alex said a little bit, ago, that the verbiage is key, right? And seeing so many patients, that repetitiveness, as well as like the patient management that goes with it, that's huge. And I just felt like you could probably get more experience with it if you're in the working place. So if you're working for a private practice, DSO, seeing so many patients, a day. And the one thing I'll say is, like, my first year, I treated kind of like a GPR or AGD, in that I learned, like, that's what I use this for, to get better clinically, patient management, whatever you have. And you can do the same thing in work, right? And so you just have to have a good platform to be able to do that. And I think Aspen provides a pretty good platform, just from my experiences. And I'm pretty confident with that statement. Yeah.
Excellent. Moving on to the next question. So we have questions around autonomy. So let me just pose this one. What does your autonomy look like for treatment plans and the materials that you're using? Are you limited to what you can use? So Dr. Williams, you want to start with that one first?
Sure. This is probably my favorite question because, it's not my license. It's yours. And I think it would be a disservice to the patients, to me, the owner, or Dr. Patel, the owner, or even yourselves. I think it's really important. And if you feel ever that you're in a scenario or any type of practice that you're, interested in, if you don't feel like you have clinical autonomy, then you've got a problem. Do I believe in coaching and training around, certain types of treatment decisions? Absolutely. I'm still growing. I'm going to continue to grow for a very long time. My dad is a good example. He just learned how to use a rotary handpiece for root canal therapy not more than 5 years ago. Guy's been in practice for 30 years. He's probably done more root canals than most of us can count. And so it is an interesting question. Here at Aspen, that's not something that I try to be involved with outside of trying to help you see it from different perspectives. How can we treat this case, and how can we, get this patient to quality care? Obviously, with treatment planning, we talk about prognosis. Prognosis is everything. And again, it goes back to the verbiage that you have chairside with the patient and figuring out what it is that they really want out of their oral health. And that is probably more important than dictating what the treatment needs to be. So no, there's no one standing over you telling you what you need to do or how you need to treat something. This is your decision. It's your patients. And we put the trust in you to make the right decisions for those patients every single day. I think we could probably say that the majority of you are going to end up in situations where you're treatment planning and probably are going to be stumped at times. And that's why I think it's really key to have somebody there that's going to be able to help you get through those questions. But I don't see that as dictating clinical autonomy. As far as materials go, I've told everybody this. What works in my hands is not going to work in your hands. And in my practices and in Dr. Patel's practices and any of my partners' practices, we're going to buy you whatever you need to make it happen. Okay? I don't care if it's a different, rotary system. I've used EndoSequence. I've used Wave 1. Predominantly, we use Wave 1. I don't care. If you want to use an Apex locator, that's fantastic. If you want to use a System B, that's great, right? I don't care. I'm going to work with you. I'm going to help you find out what materials work best with you, and that's what you're going to get.
Excellent, Doc. Dr. Patel, anything else to add for that?
Yeah, same thing. So we have new patients coming in, and the first year that you're out, it's not like we, as lead doctors will treatment plan something and then we'll have the associate doctors do something. That's not the way we practice. We want you to grow, and you will also see those new patients the same way that we do, and you will treatment plan them with your own, mindset and your own way that you like to. Yeah.
Excellent. So let me jump into the next question, which is, what technologies are available? Are you fully digital within the office? Will I be working with outdated technology or systems with your offices? Dr. Patel, you want to start with that one?
Yeah, so I think this is a good time to kind of show the iTero. So I'm actually in the office, so so this is the office here, and I have my iTero, and it's pretty cool because it shows it's a scanner, right? So we can scan the patient's mouth when we're presenting treatment, as well as if we're doing crowns or even when we're doing partials, we can scan and send that to the lab. So the fit is much more accurate, we've seen, and also for presentations for new patients, it's very helpful for us to be able to do that. So this patient obviously, has a broken tooth here, some decay that you can see. I don't know how deep down it goes to see if we can save it or if it needs extracted. But see, it's very easy for the patient to see this and to see the value in the treatment that we offer. And you can clearly see some of the plaque that the patient has, right? Right here, there's some calculus that you can see. So in terms of the technology, we have this stuff. Like this is the new stuff that we offer. This particular office is gonna have a cone beam CT. So that's gonna go probably around there somewhere. We have a pano right here, x-rays. Sorry, I don't know if I can, should I just give them a tour? I'm just going off.
I think it's good. I mean, as you're going through that, Doc, it's probably good to see that. I have questions on the lab as well, Doc. So I don't know
Yeah.
if you are able to show us the lab, but I have
Yeah.
questions as you're talking through that on that they heard we see a lot of denture cases. And can you help explain why is that?
So yeah, so I'm just gonna show the lab here. So there's a bunch of operatories here. My hygienist sits over here, sterilization area here, and then we have the lab over here. So we actually have lab technicians work in this area and make the dentures, over here. And that's really helpful because if we do wax tries and obviously we want to change something, we definitely can do that right away. And so it's really, really helpful to have a lab tech in the house. We see a lot of obviously extract deliver type cases, more surgical stuff. These patients are people who haven't been to the dentist in a while. So they're gonna need the care, right? So a lot of extractions, a lot of dentures planned because of that reason. It's somebody, our typical patient is somebody who hasn't been to the dentist in a while. So we know that, they need a lot of work. Somebody who's tired of dealing with pain, dealing with a bad mouth for a very long time, and they've made a decision that they want to come in. So then it's up to us on how we want to plan and how we want to go from there. But for that reason, that's our typical patient is that way. So we do a lot of, partials and dentures and stuff like that. Yeah.
And Doc, you just showed your lab, but we also have a question on, are you able to choose the labs that you're using? Now that may be more towards fixed, but maybe you could elaborate a little bit more on what your lab does for you and then take us into what your options are that you use for fixed, whether it's crown and bridge work.
So yeah, so that lab was mostly for removable. For fixed, we do have contracts with a bunch of labs. So we don't have to have we're not locked into a specific lab that we must use. So we have, I think, 5, 6, even more different labs to choose from. And they're all very good quality because the iTero that we showed, we use that to do impressions for. So they're very accurate. And our labs do a very, very good job with a turnaround. So we can get the patients back quickly to do permanent crown seats. As well as like if there's a problem, if the crown breaks, that can happen sometimes, right? They're all very good with making redos and all that stuff too. Yeah.
Excellent.
So I haven't had problems with most of the labs that I've used that deal with that work with Aspen.
Excellent. And Dr. Williams, anything else to add from the side of the removable or fixed that you're doing within your offices?
Not really. I think that he's right. I mean, when you're in iTero, our labs are fantastic. I mean, you got to remember that they're contracted with, like you mentioned earlier, 800 dental offices just in Aspen brand alone. And you got to think about the volume that we're sending to these labs. I mean, good Lord, if you're thinking 30 to 50 crowns per location, that's a lot of crowns, guys. And these labs are getting those out every single month. So we know that there's got to be some, even if you didn't take our word for it, there's got to be some statistically significant, belief there that would say that out of 1,000 doctors delivering crowns across this nation, they're extremely high quality. Our margins are incredible. Obviously, I can't dictate everything. I mean, some of you guys really suck at prepping crowns, but at the end of the day, I mean, they're going to be as good a fitting as they can be on your crappy prep, but it'll be good regardless.
There you go. So here's the next question that I have. Dr. Patel, you were talking about that associates will see new patients, the managing clinical director sees new patients, but they do want to know, how will I be assigned patients as an associate? So can you walk through that?
So yeah, this is actually something that mattered a lot when I was at school trying to choose a job, because I wanted mentorship as well as to be at an office that does things together, in terms of if there's another doctor that I'm working with, I should be able to collaborate with them and not fight over, oh, let me take this big case versus like, oh, you take all the little stuff because you're the associate. You crank out, fillings all day long. So I didn't want that, right? And so Aspen does a really good job with that, with making sure that we're able to not only train and build you up to your speed, but also make sure that it's more of a synergistic relationship, because if you're as an associate able to do well, we as owners do well in terms of our business side of it too. So we have we have a motivation to help you succeed, and then you also have a motivation to do better, right? So and learn clinically. That's your motivation. So I like the way that the relationship is built, and it all has to do with the way that the pay structure and all that is laid out with Aspen. I don't want to go into too much details, but the way it's laid out is, if it's with the whole office, right? So, the whole office does a certain revenue, regardless of, like, if I did 99% of the work and the associate did 1%, we still split profits. And obviously that's not going to be the case, but I'm just saying that it's not in my intention to go ahead and do all the valuable things myself versus, not train you. And it's just the way that it's laid out that it helps us, and make more of a synergistic relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Williams, let's dig into a little bit more what Dr. Patel started with compensation, because I think that makes a lot of difference in the world. And there's a lot of differences between Aspen Dental and maybe other places that are out there. Can you talk more specifically about the compensation model and maybe what makes our compensation model different as opposed to other organizations?
Yeah. So one of the big things that we're going to find throughout most organizations out there, or even private practices, they're going to usually have some adopted system that's paying some percentage off of gross revenue, or maybe a net revenue, or collections, and it doesn't really matter. I don't really like any of those models, and I'll tell you why. Because I feel like it's dictated based on someone else's performance. There it is in a nutshell. I don't like the idea of someone being able to define what I'm capable of. If someone didn't schedule me enough production, then I'm being docked because they didn't put it on my books, right? My feet are being put up because the front office failed to get anything scheduled for me. That's not really my control. Same with collections. Am I picking up the phone and trying to collect dollars and cents for my patients? No. And I think it's really hard when you're paid off of those kind of percentages. And so I think it's really cool. The way that we pay is we all get a daily draw, right? So the daily draw is a base pay, and that's not different. That's nothing special. You're going to find that just about everywhere, so that you absolutely can guarantee that you go home every month and you can keep your lights on and feed your families. But I feel like our base pays are very competitive, if not in the top 10% out there. Okay. But secondly, and most importantly, which is what Dr. Patel was alluding to, was our profit sharing, opportunity. And for associates and what we call our lead dentists is managing clinical directors, they split the profits based on the overall gross revenue of the business, less their center expenses, which is just your overhead. And not all the overhead, just the overhead that we would feel like a managing clinical director or an associate doctor would be responsible for. So once we've taken all that into account, it's going to entice you to help your hygienist boost her revenue. It's going to entice you to help your lab technician create more cases per month and get more cases delivered per month, because in the end, you're both going to be paid off of the overall gross revenue, not some fraction that you were a part of, okay? Which is cool. The way that we break that down, though, is through a percent. So let's just throw out some numbers and say that an MCD or a managing clinical director, the lead dentist, gets paid 18 to 20% less their wages of the overall gross revenue, okay? Well, the cool part is that's that range that I just told you, that 18 to 20%, or whatever the range is set with your owner doctor, that range is going to be based off of your patient loyalty score. How novel is that, right? We've now not only made it really worth your while to create avenues for patient care, but we've also enticed you by making it a really good experience and doing good dentistry, because the better dentist you are and the more people like you, the more money you're going to make. It's
Nice.
so cool. No,
Nice.
I really, really love it. It's like my favorite thing. And it can be very lucrative. So there's a lot of opportunities to really, really see your income go up.
Excellent. And Doc, can you answer the other question? Because I think you kind of hit on this, but we did have the question that some practices start off with a guarantee that goes away and then you're paid on production after that. So you did say there's a guarantee, but does that guarantee go away then?
No, I don't know of personally any offices that have some guarantee that goes away. Now, if you're talking about maybe a bonus, an additional bonus that would have been paid out, say, for your initial 3 months, that would be some arrangement that you've got with some other doctor that might, say, have an office in a remote area that he's having a really hard time getting a doctor recruited for. And that can be really challenging. And so maybe there are times when we'll say, you know what, Doc, I'm going to give you, your base pay, and I'm going to give you a minimum bonus of $2,500 a month, regardless of what profits we make or regardless of how much production we drive in the first 3 months, because I know you're going to be new to it, and I want to make sure that you're taken care of until we can get the practice off the ground and really hitting it good.
Excellent. So before I go back to clinical, there's a couple more questions that we have around compensation that we might as well jump in and touch on. And that is, how can I participate in loan repayment? And do you provide relocation assistance? So Dr. Patel, you want to start off with those?
Yeah, so we can offer loan repayment where it makes sense, as well as relocation packages. We do that all the time as well. It just has to make sense with where you want to be placed. If you're flexible, because we have offices like rurally as well. If you're flexible with high need offices, the loan repayment is more, it's more available to you in those offices. If you want to be in the more central areas, we can definitely still do the relocation packages. I don't think Dr. Alex or I would mind that. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Sounds like Dr. Alex is agreed. Excellent. So let's go back to a couple of the clinical questions that we have here. And the next one I have is, what types of variations do you see in your Aspen clinics in regards to the number of dentists that are in there, the number of hygienists, and do you have in-house specialists? So Dr. Williams, you want to start with that one?
Sure, I'll try to keep it short and sweet. Most of our practices have currently in Oklahoma one single provider. Some of them have two. Very few have two. Only 2 of them actually have 2 at the moment. But that's really based on volume. As we are coming out of this pandemic, we're going to see volume start to come back up. Right now, we've got a lot of partners in transition, owner doctors. And these owner doctors are actually kind of migrating through their clinics. And so as we grow, you've kind of got like more of a kind of a hybrid going on there. It's like, you've got a primary dentist who might be the associate in that practice, but you'll also have a partner that's going to be there 2 days a week with you to support you. As far as specialty goes, yes, we have an oral surgeon who travels across the entire state. most of the Aspen offices in the nation have an oral surgeon in their area that we work with. They actually travel office to office and treat patients in-house so that we do not have to, have them go elsewhere. Typically, if you're working with partners or owner doctors in those locations, specifically in Oklahoma, every one of the owners and all the partners place our own implants. I do a lot of horizontally impacted thirds. I do a lot of full mouth, surgeries, and so does Dr. Patel. A lot of our other owners do as well. So, you'll have that support there in the house with you. As far as endodontist goes, we currently have one employed out in the eastern part of Oklahoma. She is finishing up her student loan reimbursement program with the Indian Health Services. And when she is finished, she will hopefully be coming on full time with us as well. Currently, she's giving us a couple of days a month in a couple of our practices in the eastern part of the state.
Excellent.
Yeah, and actually,
thanks, Dr. Williams.
We're also going to get an endodontist here in Oklahoma City area too. So I'm excited about that. We also have an oral surgeon, like Dr. Alex said. And like he said, we have just one set doctor per office as of now. The partner owners may rotate around their offices, but that's basically our model. Yeah.
Excellent. Hey, Dr. Patel, maybe you can help answer this question as well with it. So in talking about your hygienists and how many hygienists or what you have in each office, could you also answer the question with, they want to know, as an associate, will I have hygiene procedures put in my schedule?
Okay. So that's one of the things that I also considered before I, decided to join Aspen. You do not have to do hygiene as an Aspen doctor. We have a full-time hygienist that works in pretty much every single office, maybe even two. So they take care of the hygiene part all day, every day, and they're there for treatment planning. All we have to do is just kind of oversee that, and that's really it. Yeah, and I really like that because it allows us to focus on, the cases like extractions, partials, and all that stuff. So hygiene is something that you don't have to worry about. Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks,
Not
Doc.
to dog on anybody out there who loves cleaning teeth, but I wouldn't be here at Aspen if I had to clean teeth.
Yeah, I hate cleaning teeth too, and kudos to whoever does, but that's something that I haven't done in a while. So
okay, good to know for them. The next thing I have, Dr. Williams, I'll send this one down to you. What is your procedure mix that you're currently seeing, and is there a procedure quota?
There are no procedure quotas. You will treat what you treatment plan, and we get accepted. My mix is very broad, guys. The stronger, the more comfortable you are with the full gambit of procedures out there, the more you're going to see. I handle anywhere from, like I said, impacted thirds, full mouth rehabilitation. I'll do maybe a full set of 20 crowns, open someone's vertical dimension. Maybe we'll do a full mouth rehab where I'll take every tooth out, do a strong alveoplast, place upper and lower implants, do it all on 4Ks. There are days where we'll go in and we'll do, a ton of molar root canal therapy. It's very, very, very different every single day. And I think that's what I love about it so much, is that I don't like monotony. Mm-hmm. I love change. I love seeing the differences. I love challenges, and I love growing.
Excellent. Thanks. And Dr. Patel, can I, along with that, can I ask you the question of, are you able to refer out? And do you refer out?
Yes, I'm obviously, I'm able to refer out. We actually refer mostly to our oral surgeon that we have in-house, as well as our endodontist. But there will be occasionally some cases where it makes sense to send somebody to see a periodontist or some other specialist every once in a while. But predominantly, the patients that we see here, mostly it'll be endo or oral surgery that we offer in-house. So yeah.
Excellent. So let me send this next question back to you. And that is, do you prefer to hire a new grad and mentor them, or would you prefer to hire someone with experience? So Dr. Patel, you want to start with that one?
Yeah, I think Dr. Alex or I might agree here. I would personally definitely would want to hire a new grad, because I personally love mentorship and mentoring somebody as well. And I think Dr. Alex echoes with me when I say that. And that's why, we want to teach and we want to show and we want somebody to grow with us. And that's huge. And obviously for that reason, we would want somebody who may be fresh out of school, who may not know everything, but who we can mold into that doctor. Yeah.
Awesome. So I love this next question that we have that came in. We're hearing a lot of good things, which is great. Tell me something that needs work at Aspen, and how are you improving it? Dr. Williams, you want to start with that one?
Yeah, and just stop me if I'm getting cut out a little bit. I don't know if I'm entering any zone that's bad, but so let me rephrase the question. So they're asking if there are areas within Aspen, the model, that could be improved.
Yep. And what are you doing to help improve that?
Okay, the answer is no. No, I'm just kidding. There are always going to be areas where we can improve. I know that communication with any large business is going to be an area that we can struggle in, and we can struggle in that month to month. Obviously, that is probably the number one thing that you're going to see. So when we're failing, it's important to have multiple avenues to reach out to. So that's really where I've tried to improve over the last 5 years. When I first came on, it was kind of hard to know where to point. Where do I project this problem? Where do I who do I tell? And how do I get it fixed? And sometimes when there's too many cooks, it can get really, really dicey. And so now we've really streamlined it a lot better in Oklahoma, and we're still working on it. But that's why Aspen has so many different roles, right? That we know who to reach out to. So a lot of times I don't even take on all the responsibilities that I used to, because now I have people that will do that for me. So, when you ask me like, hey, I've got a doctor right now that said, hey, I need to get in touch with HR. I said, I just literally forwarded it over to Chelsea, my regional manager. I said, Chelsea, hit up HR, get him what he needs. And boom, she hit up Laureen from HR, and boom, that was done, right? So we know the avenues to take to get the answers we need quicker. And that way you guys aren't hanging. You're not worried about your first paycheck and crap like that. Obviously, those are big deals, especially when you're first getting out of school. So just know that those systems are in place now, and we're working on it to improve.
Excellent. Thanks, Doc. Hey, Dr. Patel, let's take that one up to you too. And in your practice, are there things that you're working to improve right now in your practice?
Yeah, I would say same thing. It's the administrative kinks here and there, the communication. With a big corporation, that's always going to happen. But that's something that we're always trying to improve on. And clinically, I think we're definitely there. We have the support that we need to be able to do whatever we want to. But a lot of times it's so for example, I don't have a hygienist in my office, right? So we're going to we hired one actually just a couple of days ago. But it's who do we contact for that process to get streamlined really quickly? Just things like that obviously an associate coming in may not have to worry about as much. Yeah.
Absolutely. Hey, Doc, since you brought up about hiring someone on, I do have a question on how involved are you in the hiring process within your office? Could you maybe cover that for him?
Yeah, I'm actually very involved. I like to know, obviously, who's going to be working in my practices, kind of going over, what their history is, where they've worked before, what schooling they've gone, all that stuff. And so we obviously do a very good analysis and make sure that the pieces are put together to make a good team every single clinic. That's our goal. Because again, we want to succeed. We want you to succeed. And it doesn't make sense for us to be, not well run, like a well-oiled machine that it should be.
Absolutely.
Can I piggyback on that real quick?
Absolutely, Doc.
I just feel like it's really important to share that it's not only, Dr. Patel and I think both agree on this. We love to involve ourselves with all the interviewees. We want to be there to pick and choose the people who are going to fit the best in our culture, right? And bring the culture that we want in our practices. But I also want my associate doctors, if it's a hygienist, I want you to meet them, right? Because I'm not the guy that's going to be working with that hygienist every day. So even if I love them, you might hate them, right? And what's that going to do for the practice, right? So that's a really big part of this for me, is making sure that every person who's going to be working or interacting with these hires needs to be a part of that equation. And I want them to be part of those interview processes so that they can make sure that it's the right fit and the right relationship from the very, very beginning.
Excellent. Thanks, Doc. Thanks for adding that. Hey, Dr. Williams, let me take this one back to you because they want to know about during COVID time, when we were at the peak of that, how did you navigate that? And did your doctors have job security?
Yeah, they did have job security. That was one of the best parts about our business. We made it through it. It still is a very challenging time. And I know our country is obviously suffering, but we're recovering quickly. I think that Aspen Nation as a whole has come out of this about as unscathed as you can. I know in Oklahoma, we had a lot less restrictions and a lot less mandates than a lot of the other dental offices throughout the nation. And so I feel very blessed to be in a state where we had that opportunity to still see emergency care treatment, to still be able to come into the practices. But all of our employees, if they wanted to furlough, they had the option. But again, everyone was given the opportunity to stay on payroll. I made it through it, keeping every single doctor employed. It was hard. It was not easy. Thank God for the PPP, the Payroll Protection Program. ADMI helped me get through the paperwork on that. And obviously it helped facilitate a lot of our opportunity to get through it in a really positive way. And I can't thank them enough for that. But I can't thank the doctors enough for being a part of it and helping us make it through it together.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I'll be the first one to attest to that, because when that stuff happened, I was working as a lead doctor at an office that unfortunately had to be closed, and it was open, when it was allowed to be open, just a couple of days a week. Thankfully, Dr. Alex was able to provide me with full benefits, and I mean like very, very generous. And that's the point that I knew that I wanted to progress with the company, to be honest with you. Yeah, and that's huge, because it shows how much caring the team is, and something that really echoes with what happened. And it just shows like the ability to come out of a crisis the way that we were able to. I feel like we may even be in a pretty good, better position than we were before, and that's huge. And it's like it just
Awesome.
shows like the grit and the character that we all have.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Doc, maybe you could answer the next question. They want to know a little bit about, does Aspen or you as practice owners, do you provide CEs, and what CEs are provided to your doctors or for your doctors? Dr. Patel, you want to start with that one?
Yeah, so we have an online system where you can log into the Aspen, we call it Bridge. Basically, there's a login for the doctors. You can go in there and there's CEs all day, every day that you can do. And that's about different topics. But on top of that, in the past, before COVID stuff, we actually went with a group of doctors who hadn't done the CE for example, I went to Florida with a group of doctors for oral conscious sedation. Just things that are very helpful in the practice that you want to learn. And, it was an expensive CE, but it was covered by the company, like by Dr. Alex, by the owners. And I'm very thankful for those opportunities. And the other one that we did was lift training, which is basically for Invisalign that we do. There is doctors and support that allow us to plan Invisalign cases, so we don't feel like, okay, we're, kind of doing things in the dark. Just things that are very helpful. And then also for implants, we have a huge theoretical on the computer system, a course. It's like a 2 or 3 week course that you have to do, very thorough. But on top of that, we provide, the training with the doctors, the owners that place implants, you get hands-on stuff that CEs can help with as well. So there's a lot of avenues, a lot of different things we can do with CEs. I don't ever feel like, we're lacking in a CE aspect, always growing. So yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, and I just wanted to share also,
Sure.
every single one of my doctors that I bring on every single year, and this is regardless if they've stayed with the company or they've been in and out, and they found new opportunities later. But either way, Every person goes through, like he said, oral conscious sedation. We send you to oral conscious sedation training. We want you to be prepared to do nitrous, Valium, Halcyon combinations. We also send you through implant training, the Invisalign training, and then just that chair side coaching that you're going to get. So those are the three big ones that I send every single new grad to within their first year of graduating.
Oh, that's awesome. Excellent. And I know, Dr. Patel, you had mentioned that we have the module base that you can log on to, and that's actually open for all dental professionals. So any of the dental students can log on to aspendentalce.com, and they can enroll in that and get those on-demand modules as well. So thanks for bringing that up as a reminder. So I'm going to dive into some of the ownership questions so we can get through those. We have 10 minutes left. So if there are any other live questions, guys, I want to let you know you only have 10 minutes left if you want to put some others in. And actually, let me ask one other before I get into ownership, because I do have questions around, am I required to sign a restrictive covenant, and for how long? So Dr. Patel, you're shaking your head no, so maybe walk us through that.
No, absolutely not. We do an agreement with, the salary package and the standard stuff like that. That's really it. I mean, we're not going to go after you if you choose to leave or something like that. It's just not, like I said, it's not our character to do so. So we don't mind about that. Yeah.
Excellent. Plain and simple there, huh? Dr. Williams, go ahead.
I think it's more important to really point out the most important piece to that is, if you're not happy, what does that do to my business? I mean, really, it's going to affect the patient experience. Our patients aren't going to be happy. You're not happy. The teams aren't happy. Why would I want you to remain in the business? If you want to leave, we want you to be able to do that. And I think that I can genuinely say that I'm glad, because sometimes it's the opposite. Maybe, and heaven forbid I run into a provider that I don't feel is ethical, or has a terrible chairside manner that we need to work around. But there are going to be times when we need to part ways, and that's why those agreements exist, so that there is no contract binding.
Excellent. Thanks, Doc. The next question I have here is, what, in your opinion, what are the legal considerations dental graduates should be looking at when they're looking over contracts? So I know you said we don't have a contract, but in general, in your opinion, what are some of those considerations that they should be looking at? So Dr. Patel, I know you looked at other places when you were out searching. Maybe you could help answer that.
Yeah, it's kind of tough, but I would say, and it's hard for me to remember back then when I was looking at the different ones, but it just has to, the verbiage has to be loose, if that makes sense. It can't have 50 different things, restrictive covenants within 30 miles, whatever. And then just very verbiage is very restrictive. If that's the case, then I would be more concerned versus when you see our contract or our agreement that we have, it's very open-ended. And so if you're, like we said, if you're not happy to be at, where you are with us, then it makes sense to part ways sometimes. And that's just part of life. So, for me, I haven't had that experience, so it's hard for me to tell. But that's important. And then also it's we offer a lot of benefits too. So malpractice insurance, health insurance, all of that. And that's huge because you don't have to worry about any of that. And to me, it's I've never looked into where is a good malpractice insurance that I can get, because that can run up to really pricey. But it's all included with our corporate model. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Zach. So let's jump into a little bit on ownership. And some of the questions on ownership is, let's see. Well, let's just go out with the one is, what is the cost currently of an Aspen dental practice? So Dr. Williams, you want to take that? That one's right out there with that.
Sure. So the going price is $300,000. That doesn't include your CVCTs or ITEROs. Those usually run around 50 grand under our contract agreements with our equipment carriers. So having said that, all in with brand new technology, all the bells and whistles. You want to throw a Nomad in there, you want to throw a laser in there, probably looking at 360 grand.
Excellent. Thanks, Doc. And then how do I get hired as an owner? So maybe walk them through the process of ownership. Dr. Patel, you want to start with that? I know you just became a partner.
Yeah, so I forgot, I didn't understand what the question was. Were they asking how do you become an owner or how do you become an associate?
How do you become an owner?
Okay, so owner, so there's basically a ladder that we've set up. So as an associate, you want to progress and grow independently, very clinically, as well as like being able to manage some front desk and like not like manage the front desk, but like manage the office overall. And if you're able to do that, we make you the lead dentist. So once you're the lead doctor, we have those conversations if you want to stay with the office about ownership and partnership. I think at that point, if you're succeeding and you want to grow and you feel like that one office is enough and you want to take on some more, then that's when we talk about, okay, let's do partnership. Let's grow together with, multiple offices that we have in the area and put those pieces together. But it has to be more of a ladder where you go from an associate to a lead, you become a really good lead, and then you can go and partner. Yeah.
Excellent. Dr. Williams, anything else you'd like to add to that? Oh, I think we're stuck with him.
I might be cutting out.
I think your connection's stuck there, Doc. Dr. Patel, I'll go back to you, okay, until he gets in a better area there. I have another, well, you already answered that. So let me give you this other question that just came up. It says, if a student has a service obligations right after school, such as Indian Health Service, are you able to work with Aspen offices, or is it better to wait until that obligation has been fulfilled?
So particularly in Oklahoma, I don't know of a contract or service agreement that we have with an Indian Health Service. And Dr. Alex can tell me if I'm wrong. But we basically have a separate entity. So it's kind of hard to dip into what the agreement and your contract is with Indian Health. Based on, I know some students have a scholarship and then they have to do a service or something. But we don't have a relationship with that to be able to do a collaboration like that, unfortunately.
So maybe, Doc, I could ask it this way, is if they're currently working there and they have additional free time, would you hire them on for additional part-time work in Aspen Dental? Or if they're already with Indian Health Services, or maybe it's a military obligation, would you still look at them as part-time work with you in one of your practices?
Yes, definitely. Yes.
Excellent.
And that's how Dr. Alex started, right? So he started off part-time on the weekends and he moved up. So that's a great example right there. So we're definitely open to that.
Excellent. Dr. Williams, do we have you back?
I don't know.
Yeah, you are. You are.
Hey!
Awesome. Did you want to finish what your thought was?
What was my thought?
That's a no. Let's go on to the next question. I don't remember what it was. So the next thing I have, because we've got a few minutes left, and here's the question on, do you feel it is more important to focus on paying off student loans or investing in a practice during the first couple of years out of school? Dr. Patel, it's right in with what you're doing. So maybe you could help answer that question.
Yeah, I started off with a bunch of student loans myself. I went to California. I had a great time. And I was like, oh, these student loans, I'll pay. I'll worry about that later. So that's something that I'm concerned about, as well as like growing myself. So how do you balance that is the question. What I personally did was I brought my student loans down my first year to a level where it was very manageable. And then at that point, I was able to own, right? So both of those things are possible if you plan that way. So I wouldn't worry about student loans if you're very business-minded and want to own practice, because both of those things can be done together. It just has to be planned. Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks, Doc. I appreciate that. Dr. Alex, anything else to add for that? Okay, perfect.
Oh.
And then why don't we just stop on the last question, which is, what would you say your top 2 reasons are that you chose Aspen Dental? Dr. Patel, you want to start off with that one?
Yeah. So the first, obviously, like I said this a lot of times, is the mentorship. That's the first thing. I wanted a good mentor that I can learn from. And then I grew over that, right? So the other thing that's most important is the ability, the profit share model. So the ability to have those relationships, because I didn't want to be at a place where I felt like, okay, if I'm getting a percentage of collections or percentage of production, like Dr. Alex was saying, that my lead doctor or whoever else is working there would want to take over the bigger cases themselves. And that's just not a good environment to be in. That's more of a competitive environment. And that's just not my personality, not my style. I would want to be at a place where it's more like we're all working together towards the same goal. And that's what it feels like with Aspen. And one thing I'll say is, like, to end this, is whenever I come to work, it doesn't feel like, oh my gosh, I have to wake up every morning and like I have to lug myself to work and like, oh God, these patients, what a headache. Like I'm seeing, whoever, Karen today. But it's very helpful. Like for me, it's like it doesn't even feel that like it's 7 o'clock and I'm here at the office, but who cares? Like because I enjoy it. And so that's what we want every provider, everybody who works here to feel like. And if you don't, this may not be the right place, and we're honest about it, but we just feel like, if you come work with us and if we have a good team, that we can give you the mentorship as well as like the clinical help, the CEs, as well as like a good package for you to be able to grow and be happy and all of that stuff. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Doc. And Dr. Williams, do you want to finish us up here with your top 2?
Top 2. It's pretty easy for me. Love removable prosthetics. Love dentures. I know that's very weird, but that's really what drew me in. Getting to handle a lot of that, and full mouth surgeries was a big part of it for me. So the type of dentistry I was doing was key. And then obviously the financial rewards that it gave me and my family, the freedom. I have 3 beautiful girls now, and I feel like I have a very a successful platform as far as my finances. I never thought I'd be even halfway to paying off my student loans by now. And I've made it. I've made it that far at least. So we're getting somewhere. So it's good.
That is awesome. That is awesome. You guys, thank you both, doctors, for sharing tonight with us. We appreciate that. OU, thanks for joining on as well. But have a good evening, you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone. Bye.